That's really good advice. What do you have any other advice for other subjects? You know, I know you're enthusiastic about English and history and things like that. Anything else you want to share that might have saved you time or earned you marks? Little, hacks.
For English, time was a big scare for me with English because I have a big problem with I cannot not say everything that interests me. So I would have these ridiculously long essays that I was like cramming into the time, which worked fine in the end, but it was because I ended up memorizing my Module A and Module B essays pretty much completely. I didn't mean to, but I just did them so many times.
You effectively did it. That's what I say. That
I ended up memorizing it.
Yeah. And did you, you basically regurgitated, or you did adapt often to the question, or you literally felt like you just dumped it?
Super lucky. For the Module B, it was almost perfect for what I wanted to say. And the Module A, I did have to adapt, but I had a broad enough point that it was quite easy to adapt to a question. My Module C was not very good, and I think that's where I lost most of my marks. So I would say, and I didn't prepare for it nearly as much, so I would say don't overestimate your ability to write a creative story, because it was harder than I expected it to be, and so I put less time into it than I should have. So yeah, definitely make sure to work on the Module C. But for Module B especially, a little trade secret, I never read Great Expectations because it's too long. So I did what I was saying, and I spent all of that year reading articles about Great Expectations until I could basically tell you anything you wanted to know about it. And I think for me, that was a much better use of my time, because no thought that I'm going to have is as interesting as someone who's, doing their PhD on Great Expectations. So if I just basically assimilate everyone's PhD into my own thought process, it's going to be much better than whatever point I was going to come up with on my own. But that was my
Look, there's
thing.
a lot of truth to that. Not to say your points wouldn't have been better, but it's the point is, like, you don't have as much time to think about the issues and the ideas as people who spend 3 years, doing a PhD on it, as you say. So it does make sense to draw upon those.
So I found for my Great Expectations, I had a whole section on the inherent violence of capitalist exchange, which was fascinating when I read it, and I thought, this is great, I'm going to just steal this. And same with Wit and Donne. I think I read something about how John Donne used poetry to attain eternal salvation and purify his soul through writing, and it was something I never would have thought of myself. Reading John Donne, I would have sit there and gone, there's a bed, there's a sun rising, there's yada yada yada. I probably wouldn't have thought of anything half as good. So
yeah, no, I have to agree there. I would say the optimal is you've read it, consumed it, and done the extra readings. But even when I was in year 12, I was guilty of not always reading the full thing or looking, watching the whole film. Or films I probably did watch. I'm trying to think. I did read, I remember we did Frankenstein, and I actually did enjoy it. So I found myself reading actually most of the text. But there were times where for sure I was just, I knew intuitively that spending more of my time on the JSTOR articles and these things. Exactly. And by the way, shameless plug on my own channel here, so it's okay. With Jettle, that's what I've tried to do. I know all the research I used to do. So now we try and consolidate that research on one platform and make it relevant to the rubric. So that's actually what Jettle's doing on the platform. But I used to spend hours and hours, doing that external research, focusing more on that because I knew that would help me more with my essay and understanding the ideas than actually reading the text. It's only since leaving school and teaching this stuff that when I've gone back and read it that I see the real value in it and I understand those ideas and I have a bit more of a voice myself. But it's crazy to think you're going to have your own voice on all these things at 18. You don't even know the world in the slightest. And nor do I right now, right? I'm still learning, but you do start to develop your own views, which is interesting.
It's definitely, I'm not saying don't ever read the book, by the way. It's great to read it. It was just more...
As a trade-off.
Year 12 is such a time crunch that I found the best way to manage my time was often to not read the book. Especially something as long as Great Expectations, and that's as studied as Great Expectations. For the people doing Under Milkwood or something, there's much less critical theory out there about Under Milkwood, so you'll have to read it. You'll have to come up with something for yourself. But Shakespeare's, Dickens, those kind of ones, even Sylvia Plath, I love Sylvia Plath, so read Sylvia Plath, but there's going to be so much information that you can find about it that, you can read a novel worth of information.
Yes.
And then you've used your time, the same amount of time, in my opinion, more effectively.
Yeah, that's true. And insofar as, converting that into an essay, absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, for one essay that, 1,100 word essay.
Yeah.